Yeah, I'm coming. Keep your pants on. I mean, what do they pay the doorman around here for anyway? Okay, yeah, come on in, come on.
You're drunk?
Oh, you can't pull the wool over your eyes.
The basic tenet of Christianity.
Whoa. This is Coach's timeout. Don't you dare tell me about the love and the compassion of your so-called God. Because if he felt like sacrificing his only begotten son, well, that's his business. But he should have bloody well kept his hands off of mine!
What do you think it does to the boys to take the death of their brother and use it as part of your carnival act?
Pays the bills.
Clinically dead in the ambulance for 4 minutes. It's a miracle.
I saw Davy. Well, all I wanted to do was just, I wanted to put my arms around him. I don't know what to do with it.
You've gotten the best scientific explanation. It hasn't brought you any comfort. Would you consider consulting a different source?
Doc, he is your God, and he's holding out his hand to you. All you gotta do now is take it. Jesus gets whacked, right?
Well, I've never exactly heard it put that way, but yeah.
Follow me here. This ain't brain surgery.
Do you believe that God hears?
God always answers prayers. Sometimes we just don't understand the answers.
This better be good.
That's what I said.
I don't want to lose you.
Are you guys ready for the amount of heat that'll be coming your way with this?
Hello and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and you just watched the trailer of the hit movie, Let There Be Light, now available on DVD and Blu-ray. And I want to introduce you to our guest today, the writer, the director, the stars, the beginning, the alpha, and the omega of Let There Be Light. Kevin and Sam Sorbo, welcome to Revealing the Truth.
Good to be here. In the beginning, there was light, so there you go.
There you go.
So.
In the beginning, there was light. Sam, great to see you again. We had you on in November for your book, Teach from Love book. I hope that project is going well. I know you all have been staying busy. What an amazing story. Sam, the way this all came about, you wrote this story, and then it's as if once you wrote it, things began to click. I guess there was a phone call beforehand, and then all of a sudden, how did this all, what's the genesis of all of this?
So I decided, I had this idea, what would it be like if an atheist were challenged in his faith the way that I and my children, more importantly, are challenged every day by our secular world in their Christian walk? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that's a movie I'd like to see. So I developed it into this idea of a movie. The world's greatest atheist has a near-death experience. He sees something that just doesn't jive with his worldview. And so he has to somehow get around that and figure out what that means. And so the more I thought about it, I thought this is going to make a really good movie. So I reached out to an acquaintance of mine who's a very well-known screenwriter, Dan Gordon, and had a chat with him. And he liked the idea, so he jumped on board. And then 2 weeks later, this guy gets a phone call from Sean Hannity saying, I want to do a faith-based movie and I want to work with you. Do you have anything we can work on together? To which Kevin said, well, as a matter of fact, I may. And so the three of us, Dan and Kevin and I, flew to New York and pitched Sean for literally half an hour, and he was in. Mm-hmm. And so what you're talking about is that the genesis of this movie is unlike almost any other movie ever, in that the money chased the project. Because typically the project chases the money.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that way.
And typically the project runs out of breath before the money does. So just it was really, the beginnings of this movie were really quite providential. I don't know. It's miraculous.
It's a God thing. We've always said it.
Yeah.
We always said throughout it was a God thing because it doesn't happen that quickly.
But then again, everything is, so.
That's true.
Yeah, you know, Kevin, you grew up on the shores of Lake Minnetonka. You had you went to church camp. You had your own faith struggles. You then had this experience where you had your near-death experience with these 3 strokes, and in your testimony you talk about you actually were hearing from God, don't let the chiropractor adjust your neck, but you went against, you wrestled with God, and all of a sudden you were in an incapacitated state. How did that help develop your identification with this character? Because it doesn't matter how strong your faith is, there are those quiet moments when there's no doctors, your wife isn't sitting there, you're not surrounded, when you're left alone with your thoughts, that you have doubts.
Well, I mean, for me, I've always had faith. I never really stopped believing. I mean, I'm certainly not perfect. I've screwed up many times in my life, and I continue to. But for me, it was in the season 5 on Hercules. I lived in New Zealand 7 years filming that series. And I was having all kinds of problems with my shoulder. I couldn't figure it out. I was coming back to America to do some publicity in my first big budget movie. And my doctor found a lump up here. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was, but something was hurting. And he said he wanted to do a biopsy on it. But before I did it, I did go see a chiropractor. And I heard this voice say, don't let him crack your neck. And he's never cracked my neck before. That was the weird thing. And because he knows I don't like my neck cracked. And I've been going to the guy for 8 years. I heard the voice again, don't let him crack your neck. And I said, that is so weird. Why am I hearing this voice? He won't crack my neck. He doesn't, and he cracked my neck. And that lump ended up being an aneurysm that was so close to the artery feeding to the brain. And that movement forced 3 of those clots up into my brain. And I wrestled with God, because you kind of go, okay, my career was really taking off. I had another big budget movie coming up. Universal was gearing me up to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take over all his action roles. And all that stuff just disappeared in a heartbeat. And it was frustrating. And as we do, we blame God, we blame family and friends. And the reality is, look in the mirror, there's your problem. Sam kept saying to me, with her tough Pittsburgh and New York love, she said, it happened. What are you going to do? And I'm a very strong-willed person. I wasn't going to let this hold me back. And it took 3 years to fully recover. And I always had faith, but I never really needed faith until this huge roadblock presented itself to me. And Sam bugged me to write a book about it, and I didn't want to write a book about it because, my gosh, I was Hercules. I'm a male, and our egos are big, and I didn't want to expose how weak I'd become, or I could barely walk for those first 4 months. And so the book was written, and it's been out now for about 6 years, and it's been a godsend because it's opened doors for me that I never thought would happen. I do a lot of speaking events, whether it's motivational, whether it's Youth for Christ or Christian universities or pro-life, whatever it may be. And that's a door that I never thought or a road I thought I'd never go down before. So,
but more importantly,
what?
The book has helped a lot of people.
Oh, the book. Oh, yeah. Well, that's just, I was going to get to that. That every time I go to these events and I sign my books afterwards, I've had people come up, not just stroke, but car crash survivors, heart attack, cancer, whatever it may be, and they say, your book has motivated me to stop feeling sorry for myself. And so she was right, and I hate admitting that because she loves being right all the time. And it was it's been, like I said, it's been another God thing. It's been a godsend to be able to do something like this and have a book out there to let people know, look, it can happen to me, it can happen to you, and how do you react with your faith and with that roadblock that you're all going to hit in our lives. We just don't know when it's going to be.
Don't you have a 20th anniversary coming up, or
in January.
Yeah. Well, I celebrated. I think he mourned.
That's a golden anniversary in Hollywood, just so you know.
Right.
Everyone is.
Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you.
What a wonderful thing, and being able to use the boys in the movie was also, I'm sure, a great experience, because it was a family. Not only was it a family faith film, it was a family-made film, and that's kind of unusual. Sam, in knowing your husband and writing this story about the world's greatest, strongest atheist. How did you write it with Kevin in mind? Did you how did that work out? Because here's this man giving his testimony in front of thousands of people, writes a book of his testimony of Hercules, known to everyone who has this episode, and how he survives, and his faith is even stronger afterwards than it was before. And you're writing a book, you're writing a story about, wouldn't it be great if we had this great debate take place between the greatest atheist, who also is a drunk, he is as carnal as he could be, which is the antithesis of who your husband is. How did you see that play out in writing this story?
So the idea came to me, and I thought, obviously, this is a role for Kevin to play. But I know him as one of the greatest actors. He's a phenomenal actor, and I've seen it. So I never had any. He can play anything that I write, you know. So the idea was always that he would play the role, and you know, his past life experience just feeds into him playing any character. It didn't really, what he's gone through on a personal level didn't really inform what I wrote, beyond the fact that I write what I know, because you can't write what you don't know. So beyond that, there's not too much magic here. He's a great actor. Dan and I wrote a great character. He played him to perfection. He did a phenomenal job. And if anybody sees that movie and sees the scene where he breaks down and doesn't get, you know, a lump in their throat, they're not alive. They should check their pulse.
Well, it all starts with the script. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. And I've got atheist friends, and I've seen and agnostic friends, and we have debates, and we have discussions, and we still part as friends. I mean, we have so much hate and divisiveness in the world right now. And I look at these guys I've seen on TV that actually have clubs, atheist clubs. And I did a movie, God's Not Dead, that was a huge hit years ago, about 4 years ago. And there's an annual atheist meeting. They have thousands of people show up. They have comedians, and they use God's Not Dead as their premiere movie to make fun of. And I take that as a badge of honor, because obviously it struck a chord. Right. And people ask me before, I said, when God's Not Dead, you play an atheist college professor. Now you're playing another atheist. And I go, yeah, but this is the super atheist of the world. This is a Hitchens Dawkins. This makes Bill Maher look like a wimp. He's kind of a wimp anyway, but this makes him look like a really wimp. And then, so I went after it, just had so much fun with it, really, because to me, it's not always just preaching to the choir, which I want the choir to support movies like this, obviously, but I want people to be that are the agnostics. I got even atheists right into my fan site, and they said, you know what, I don't believe the way you believe, but I found the movie interesting, and it was very touching, and it made me think a little bit. And to me, that's all that really matters. I mean, we've had people come up to us. We had a Muslim woman come up to us at an airport in Salt Lake City and asked if I was the actor who did God's Not Dead. And she broke down and said, I saw your movie and I became a Christian because of your movie. And that's incredible to me. To me, we're trying to put out a good message and a positive message and try to motivate people to get past their single-mindedness and really have a more open point of view of what's out there.
So what was really, and it was surprising to us, but heartening also, is we got so many emails from people and so many messages from people. And the report back was, we went to the theater, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, everybody clapped at the end of the movie. When's the last time you've gone to a theater and had that?
Stayed through the credits.
Stayed through the entire credit roll. And then on the way out of the theater, they talked to each other. They talked to complete strangers. And that's a testimony of how the film brings people together by them experiencing, sort of witnessing their shared humanity, right? We live in a quite a divisive culture right now, where we're really concentrating on our differences. And our goal is for people to focus on what brings us together, what the things that we share. So I want to share with you this tweet that I got from Donna, who I don't know. She said, just watched #LTBL, the movie, and I'm not a religious person, never have been. I thought this would be cheesy, maybe silly, but I was wrong," in all caps. She goes, "I loved," in all caps, "this thought-provoking, heartwarming movie, beautifully acted, written, produced. Many thanks, very well done." So you don't have to be a believer to enjoy the movie. It's a good movie. It tells a really relatable message, and you leave the theater feeling somehow better, somehow more informed, or at least more connected.
I get these emails all the time. Every day we're getting these emails on the movie. And here's the thing, when I travel a lot, and so I'm going through airports, and people used to stop me because of Hercules or Andromeda, my 2 series. 80% of the time now, it's like, loved you in What If, God's Not Dead, Soul Surfer, Abel's Field, whatever it is. Now it's Let There Be Light. Please make more movies like this. Well, we're an independent movie. This is a $2.5 million movie. That's like catering budget on Pirates of the Caribbean, okay?
Right.
We need word of mouth. We need people like you to help us get the word out on this, because people want more movies like this, but they have to support these movies because it's still a business. And if these movies don't become somewhat successful, it's hard to keep making them because, we're finding funders, but those funders at least want to break even. And as Sean Hannity said, look, I don't want to lose money, but I'd like to at least break even. Well, we did better than that with Sean. And it's amazing the way this movie has taken off, but we need people to support these things. And that's what happened with God's Not Dead. That's what's happening with I Can Only Imagine right now, movies like that. So we need people to get out there and say, hey, this is the type of movie I want my kids to see.
By the way, the movie's available on DVD right now at Walmart or Amazon.com.
Best Buy, it's out of Christian
Barnes and Noble, Christian bookstores. Yeah. And I want to mention before we get too far, there's a book, Let There Be Light, the book, so you can get the novelization. That's available on Amazon. And there's also a companion devotional called Share the Light. And there you go. A
lot of light on it.
So
this thing's got a lot of light on it.
I'm encouraging people to get like a set. Go to Amazon, buy the set, maybe the 2 books and the DVD to give as an Easter gift, because we want to encourage people. This film really brings us together, and I want to encourage that in our culture today.
This is the small group opportunity. That if small groups were to become what they're supposed to be, which is the community and outreach. That imagine a group getting together in a home theater and watching the movie and then taking the book of devotionals that go with it and having an open discussion. This certainly is the pro and the con. You bring out great points that atheists are always striving to get their point of view across. And
I've gotten reports back from people who are doing small groups, and if you go to lettherebelightmovie.com, you can download materials to facilitate a small group discussion after watching the movie. And the devotional is actually 40 world-changing devotionals. I'm going to put it up there again, because what we did was we took scenes from the movie, we discussed scenes from the movie, and then we offer ideas for how to do outreach, whether it's within your family, in your church, in your community, because we need to be putting feet to our faith, right? We want to share this with the world. So what's the best way to do that? And so there's suggestions. Every devotional comes with a suggestion of how you too can bring the light of Christ, basically, out into your community, out into the world, and that's the idea behind it. So that's why I'm suggesting people do the set, do the book, do the DVD, and do the devotional, and it'd be fun. It's just a really nice gift for Easter and not expensive.
Well, and you have three great occasions for gift giving. You've got Easter, followed by Mother's Day, followed by Father's Day. That really, if you're looking to pull your family together, and you're looking for gifts, people always say people are so hard to buy for. They have everything. What they don't have is a way for the entire family. We farm our kids out to the youth pastor and we drop them off on one side of the church. We really don't have those times to gather around together to watch and discuss and you know, the drunk scene, and there's some scenes in there that make it where it's going to have to be explained that there are people like that. But, you know, I've got a 28-year-old daughter. She's much more socially aware than I am, and she was much more socially aware at 7 and 8 years old than I was. So, you know, this idea of us introducing our children to concepts like somebody being drunk, they've been introduced to that before. They're looking for us to lead them, guide them, and direct them, and that's exactly what Let There Be Light does. Kevin, this was your directing debut.
Yeah, it was my feature film. I started directing on television on Hercules.
Okay. What was it like to direct yourself?
Well, I'm great in every take, so it doesn't really matter. But no, you know what it is? I first and foremost, I'm an actor. That's where my passion still lies. That's what I love to do. So Sam's very good at reading a script and saying, here's what we need to do to improve the script. I'm more microscopic about it. I look at each scene and break the scenes down much more intensely. And I'm smart enough to know to put smart people around me. I'm not going to be a dictator on the set. I want, you know, if I hire a DP,
that's my job.
That's your job. Yeah. I hire a DP. I hire the set designer. I hire the costume designer, makeup. I may have an idea in the script, but you know, when they read the script, I want them to come to me with their ideas. So I don't sit there and want. I like to keep a nice set. I want to have a fun set. We had a lot of laughs on this. Believe me or not, we shot this in 13 days, which is crazy. I would love to have another week on it. But you know, when you're limited with budget and limited locations, I mean, you got to make do with what you got to make do. The film looks like a lot bigger than what it is because there's so many talented people on the other side of the camera that movies today, because of equipment and lighting and everything else and lenses and everything we have, it's easy to make a lower budget movie look very rich and draw people in, and that's what this movie does. I mean, I've had such wonderful compliments from directors with far more experience than I do, saying congratulations on the movie. So it's been very rewarding. And if I'm in the scene, I make sure that somebody else yells action. I want to be in the scene. I may do the cut at the end of it, but I'm there to do the scene and keep the ball rolling. And I believe in two takes, 3 takes max. I don't like to sit there and do 100 takes. I'm the school of Clint Eastwood. I wish we could, you know, he works 8-hour days and he makes Academy Award-winning movies. So there's no reason to spend, you know, these 14, 16-hour days on set, which so many directors think they have to.
You know, we're familiar with the work of the Irwin brothers, the Kendricks. Now the Sorbos are becoming a faith family feature film family. This got a lot of attention, not just because of Sean Hannity, Franklin Graham, Jay Sekulow, Mike Huckabee. There's a lot of people who saw this project and saw it for what it was, which was a reality check and a launch pad to take a stand against this liberal-leaning America that's coming, that's so far right that the flat earthers are probably correct because these people are so far left, that they're about to fall off the edge of the earth in their concepts of the meaning of life and the concepts of faith. And you grabbed a lot of attention. Was this designed to be released the way it was and go immediately to DVD and get it into the homes, or were you looking in the initial release for more theater activity?
So this is a standard release. We had a very limited P&A budget, so that limited the number of theaters that we could reach. Quite frankly, that was just a money equation. If we had had more money, we could have gone into more theaters. It's that simple. It stayed for 3 months in the theater. That's a lot better than most films. In fact, most films don't make it to the theater. And then the window for the DVD was, that's the standard window. So DVD launch is 6 months from the date of the original theatrical launch, and that's what happened there. So the anomaly part of it is that we were successful, really.
Yes,
because
you were very
most films that open in theaters open in clubs.
Right.
Well, and then you look at the big budget movies. We open against Thor. Well, that's a $250 million movie with about $120 million in to promote it. We have basically $1 million to promote. So we can't compete. We can't be on every sports program and every television series at night to promote the movie. It's really individually in each city it was in to get it on a radio, get it somehow in a local commercial or something.
Yeah, Kevin and I did interviews.
Well over 100 interviews.
Yeah, and of course Hannity plugged it on the show as well.
So it's really for us to be in theater. And actually, the first 2 weeks we were the #2 per screen average movie, up against Thor that made like $1 billion around the world.
And we held our own during the Star Wars onslaught too.
So yeah, we were up against we were the Davids up against some serious Goliaths. So we're very happy the way the movie turned out. As Sam said, with more money, we capped out at 800 screens. We could have doubled that with a little bit more money. But
We're talking
tough to find.
With Kevin and Sam Sorbo, writer, editor, director, star of the film Let There Be Light. When we come back, we're going to dig more into the storyline, more understanding, and we want to challenge you, our audience, and our audience is global. So right now we're talking to Israel in prime time. We're talking to Pakistan in prime time. We're talking to Australia, all over the world right now, and you can go on Amazon and follow the link on the ignitingnation.com website and get a copy of this DVD, Blu-ray DVD, for yourself, and then go to lettherebelightmovie.com and click on the resources page. And you who are a small group leader, you who are a pastor, you who are a teacher, you are someone who has a group that meets during the week, book club, small group, there are a number of resources for you and your church to get behind this idea that there is a challenge in the Bible that tells you, be ready to give an answer for the hope that burns within you. This is that answer. 1 Peter 3:15. This is the answer. And you'll find the answer contained within the story, the movie, and the books that go with it of Let There Be Light. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Shalom. I'm the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, Executive Director of Igniting a Nation and host of the daily TV program Revealing the Truth, seen live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time at www.ianbn.com, and then replayed throughout the day and night via our website. All of our segments can be seen on the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel. Since our launch in January of this year, we've expanded our global reach to over 54 countries with a social media following of over 125,000. Our commitment is to bring you the most in-depth interviews with authors, subject matter experts, and thought leaders from around the world. We have interviewed guests from Israel, Brazil, England, India, and all across North America. All of our authors are featured on the Books and Media page on our website, www.ianbn.com. There you can find a direct link to the book you want to order, and we receive a small commission directly from Amazon. There is no cost to you for this service. In addition to our daily teachings and interviews, we make available to you the archive of all of the interviews on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram channels. Our live program is available from our homepage, and there is never a charge to you for any of this access. We made the decision long ago that we would remain a commercial-free resource that would not be influenced by any pressure from any outside company. There are only two ways that we are able to continue to operate this ministry and provide you with the only live 4-hour daily Christian television talk show program. The first is through your support and tax-deductible contributions to Igniting a Nation. These can be made directly through the donate button on the website or sent through the mail to Igniting a Nation, 2700 Corporate Drive, Suite 120, Birmingham, Alabama, 35242. The other way we support the program is by offering you a unique opportunity to have access to over 10 years worth of teachings on a subscription basis. The teaching archives contains all of my prior sermons, Torah studies, Prophecy in the News videos, and much more for the low subscription price of $5 per month. This subscription grants you unlimited access to over 800 hours of content not available elsewhere and is updated weekly with the most current prophecy classes. In addition to 20 hours of original TV programming each weekday, we invite you to join us live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings for our Prophecy in the News classes. The times and locations are listed on our events page on the website www.ianbn.com. Every day, you and I are faced with the challenge of where we will go to hear the truth. We are committed to bring you the only program of its kind that covers the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. We cannot do this without your support. Since we launched on January 5th, 2017, we have aired over 300 individual teachings, interviews, and commentaries not available anywhere else. We are now working side by side with almost every major Christian publishing house to bring you the most in-depth feature interviews possible. Our one-hour features address every subject that affects the believer's life. We are hearing of salvations from the Middle East, Africa, and all across the United States. Lives are being changed every day, and we have only just begun. Our mission is to become your trusted resource and grant you access to the people, tools, and information you need to grow in your relationship with the Lord. You can help us by liking us on social media and through your financial support. We know you have many choices in who you support, but we are prayerfully asking you to consider helping us keep revealing the truth, true to our calling, to cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth like no other program available. Donate today and help us bring the message to the four corners of the earth. Visit www.ianbn.com and donate, buy a book, or subscribe to our teaching archives. Without you, we do not exist.
I don't know.
Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Kevin and Sam Sorbo, author, director, and stars of Let There Be Light, now out on DVD and Blu-ray. Kevin and Sam, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much.
You know, you two have had such a truly sterling career, successful marriage, two great-looking boys that starred in appeared in the movie with you. I actually watched an interview with you last night, was recorded, where through the magic of video you had them on a bench with you and then it disappeared. You were actually in Mound, Minnesota, I think, sitting in front of your church.
That's right.
We did some at my church. We also did some at a home that we rent every year on the lake I grew up on. It's not my home, but they love going back. We go back in the summers. I don't miss the winters anymore.
And by the way, that is available on the DVD for Let There Be Light. So if you want to see it, get the DVD. You can see both the film and that interview.
Yeah.
TV show.
What was so great is the casting of this movie. Every role was absolutely picture perfect, and for the budget, for the time frame from conception through final product, what was that time frame?
It was about a year.
Yeah, it was very fast.
Most product, if you have an idea that gets greenlit and it gets funded and it gets shot, it makes the theater, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So this was, as we said, it was a God thing all the time. We kept saying that.
It just
because it was incredible how quickly it came together.
Things fell into place, and the shoot went really well. We didn't fall behind. There was just
And we shot in Birmingham. The Irwin brothers really offered a helping hand in terms of some of the locations we could have used, and we used a lot of the same crew that they shot the Woodlawn movie with.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it was a great place to work, and really good restaurants there too. So we enjoyed it.
Well, next time you come to town to film your next movie, we'll have you live in studio right here on Revealing the Truth, because we're in Birmingham as well. Kevin, in playing this role, as you began to take on the identity of an atheist, and you were absolutely compelling, convincing, and arguably
Scary.
Actually, it was scary. It was it was intimidating. It was scary. Then you in the anger side of you, which in knowing about your story, because I actually watched your testimony and I listened to Sam being there for you as a caregiver and through the strokes and through all of that and still married you, all that history that was wrapped up in it, you've played roles which are not who you are as a person. They are who you have to become. And that kind of crosses into a spiritual door opening that you have to be pretty grounded in your faith to open the door to allow that atheist spirit to, or for you to step into that atheist spirit character, or into that angry and very angry character. How do you do that?
Well, to start, I thought of a Christian, and I took away all reason and accountability, and I was already halfway there. So, it's like I said, it's in the script. And as an actor, I've studied for many years. I've been in the business for 35 years now. We all know what it's like to be angry. We all know what it's like to be happy. We all know what it's like to feel sad. I mean, those emotions for me are easy to tap into. There's an old method. It's not a method acting, but it's an old method. One of my old acting coaches said, it's just, you think of substitution. You think of something, that, okay, what will make you sad? Well, what made me sad is my father passed away. So I can think of my dad before a scene if I've got to reach an emotional point for that. You think about something that makes you happy. You think about our first child being born, and that brings tears of joy, actually, and also laughter at the same time, especially our second child, who's 12.5 pounds at birth. So,
boy, was I happy when he was out.
But, I mean, it really comes down as an actor. You just sort of, you know what those emotions are and how to tap into those emotions, because it's easy for me to just do flip like that. I mean, I can be on the set talking to people and joking to people, and then we're about ready to shoot. I just flip it on and go over because I know what that scene's about, and I get into it. And like I said, on the set, I don't want to have to be such a negative person on the set and just leave me alone. I've worked with actors that want to be called only by their character name. They're very methody, and if their character hates my character, they don't even want to have lunch with me during downtime. Right. So to me, it's like, I think of Laurence Olivier when he said to Dustin Hoffman, a marathon man, and when Dustin stayed up for 3 full days, like the character was supposed to in the novel. And here's Laurence Olivier, one of the greatest actors of all time. He said, "Why don't you just try acting, old chap?" So to me, it's all. I love the craft. I love what we're doing now. We're putting out all these positive messages in a way. I mean, that was his growth. I knew that his growth was going to be, how do I find my way from point A to point B? And go on that journey when my belief, because let's face it, atheism is a religion unto itself. I mean, I know atheists seem to have more faith than a lot of Christians do, to really believe in nothing that strongly. And but I knew his growth was, he's going to have something challenge his worldview, and what's he going to do when that happens to him? Because it just totally confuses him. And all this time, he had an ex-wife that was always a Christian, that was still, she got angry at him, but she still prayed for him all the time. And those prayers ended up being answered in the movie.
Sam, how much of you did you put in the movie? You as the person, Sam Sorbo.
So I did not write the movie for myself, strangely.
Or our kids.
Or the kids.
Yeah.
It was Dan who said... Dan
Gordon, the other writer.
Yeah, you're going to play Katie. And I was like, really? No, that's not the plan, but he was very insistent. Actually.
I wanted Julia Roberts, but what are you going to do? No.
And then he said, and the boys have to play the boys. We should write a role for Tavy. Octavia is our youngest, our little girl. She wasn't having any. No. She had no desire to, and so that worked out really well. But how much of me did I put in the movie? Well, I mean, that's a hard question. I put in a character that is that I have similarities to and differences from. So I don't know, 50%. Hard to say.
You know, oftentimes there are things that we are able to emote and reflect that are real. I'm sure that while Kevin was going through his recovery period and regaining his strength after all that, and you were a caregiver at that time, that praying for him was something that you found yourself doing a lot. So that part would be a natural inclination for you as a woman of faith to intercede and pray, whether or not you were married to him, divorced from him, but you had also gone through an experience with him that somewhere deep inside of you, this incredibly strong prayer warrior, this incredibly strong, powerful, unshakable faith in the power of a restorative, a God who restores. And in Kevin's situation, you recovered from not a near-death experience, but from a near life-changing, life-ending, as you knew it, experience. And in the movie, he has a near-death experience. He's gone for, 4 minutes, and he sees this child that was lost. Did any of it take you back? Were you able to relate to it, or are you compartmentalized and all those are separate?
Was that for me or for Kevin?
Whoever wants to field that question.
Well, I'll tell you, he draws on his experience, nearly dying. Certainly, he draws on it in the movie, and some of the movie is reflective of our shared experience. Oh boy, sorry, I'm getting a call, and I thought that I had turned it off. So some of that experience, is definitely in the movie, and it shows up in his acting, for sure. For me, yeah, I mean, I draw on my entire life experience when I act, anyway. So that's definitely there. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Kevin, from your perspective, how easy was it for you to step into this role that was the part of laying there dying or dead? You had kind of been almost in that position yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was when the strokes actually happened. I remember Sam was rushing me to the ER at Cedars here in Los Angeles, and it was the exact same day that Princess Di died in her car crash in Paris. And I didn't tell it to her at the time, but I'm hanging on to her. She's dragging me into the ER, and it was a beautiful September morning, blue skies, and I just, to myself, I was like, wow, I'm gonna die today. And I was actually shocked at how calm I was inside my brain, about my head and my body. And I was like, this sucks. I always thought I'd get married. I thought I'd have kids. I thought I would have my career, do what I was going to do. And, it made me less fearful of death in a way down the road now, because I figured that was it for me. And here I've gained another 20 years after.
Cheated death.
I cheated, yeah. But I honestly believe it was, Sam says God tapped me on the shoulder. And I really believe it was a way to really start a whole new sort of life in a way, because I went through a mourning period after it happened. I actually felt like there was a death in the family. I felt like I'd lost someone that was near and dear to me. And I did, in a way, because I knew I would never be that same person again after going through what I was going through. So it was, I drew on it on God's Not Dead as well, when I laid in the streets, because that God's Not Dead was tough too, because when I laid in the street there after getting hit by that car, and the rain was coming down, it was a tough scene for me to do, because I had just buried my father 1 month, 6 weeks prior to that. So that was heavy on my mind as well. So it was, you can't help but bring real life experiences into that, because it's really real life was imitating in the art life, instead of the other way around, in a way.
Art imitates life.
Well, art imitates life for us and our marriage, because we got married on Hercules on the series before we got married in real life. So, but yeah, it was. I do draw on those, and I think a lot of actors draw on real life experiences as well.
Now, you published a book you referred to. You have it there. It's called True
I do.
Strength. True Strength, My Journey from Hercules to Mere Mortal, and How Nearly Dying Saved My Life.
Makes my head look really big this way.
There it is.
So,
There it is. And
you can get that on Amazon as well. And
You're
yeah,
wearing the same shirt.
no, it's not.
I'm kidding.
but it's actually the number 9th selling book on strokes on Amazon. So
We got to get that number up.
It also covers our love story in the book, and
Well, yeah,
those are the best chapters.
Yeah, she wrote some chapters, and you know, it's autobiographical as well. It's an uplifting read. There's a lot of humor in there as well. There's people that influenced me that I met along the way, and I got chapters from Sam, chapters from Michael Hurst, who was the opposite co-star, played Aeolus on my show, and the DP John Mahaffey and George Lyle it's been really kind. I mean, I go to these speaking events I told you about, and it's amazing the response from people, and I signed the books afterwards. I've been there 2 hours after I've been speaking, still signing books. So it's been amazing the response from people.
what is your hope for the future of family or faith-friendly and faith-based films based on the success of God's Not Dead, of War Room, of Let There Be Light?
Hopefully we keep it going. I mean, you know, I recommend people to see my movie What If. I think What If's a better movie than God's Not Dead, and I can say that without offending PureFlix because it's a PureFlix movie, and it's the same writers from God's Not Dead. It just came out 2 years earlier, and once again shows how important it is about promotion and word of mouth, because
they just didn't have the facility to promote that movie.
But I have a new one coming out in the fall called One Nation Under God. That's done, it's complete, and that deals with putting that phrase back into our Pledge of Allegiance. Sam and I just went to Lionsgate and went to Hallmark. We've been pitching a couple of wonderful new faith-based movies, and Sam says she hates saying faith-based because when you think about it, all movies are faith-based, right? Right. Everything is pushing an agenda or pushing something, where people view as negative or positive. The reality is, it is sort of that. But I like to say family-friendly movies probably better. But we have a number of them. We have a TV series we're hoping to get off the ground. And the hardest thing is always funding, though. That's what it really comes down to, is finding people to want to come in and be involved in movies to get these movies off the ground, because we're much smaller budget than what Hollywood movies are, and it's just tough to raise money no matter what level it is.
Right. I just, you know, I'm optimistic, but it's going to be a hard row to hoe, basically, because the messaging that we're seeing dominate the media is divisive, and it doesn't value life. And I believe that that's contributing to a lot of the violence that we see in the United States culture today.
Sure.
Because life has so little value. You
do see it in movies, you see it in video games, you see it all.
Right?
Yeah, there's a callousness towards it.
So what I'd like to see is a resurgence of faith support. And the specific faith is the Judeo-Christian faith, which supports the belief that life has value. I'd love to see a resurgence in that. And the only way, look, politics is downstream from culture. Everything is downstream from culture. And the media sets the culture. And by that I mean both just everyday media and Hollywood media. Like all media, that's the messaging. Social media sets the culture. If we are supportive of bullying online in our social media, that's the tone that the culture will take.
And the whole thing of Jefferson, the whole idea of separation of church and state, it wasn't to keep a separation. It was to keep government out of schools, not churches out of schools. I mean, our schools were all based on the Bibles. Our law was based on the Bible. So I think we need to get back to realizing that politics and religion do intermix with each other, and
they can't help it.
And I always like to say, people in your profession don't serve government; you serve God. And we need pastors and everybody else to really get out there more and not be afraid to spread that message, because I think we've been cowed into being to having government and the PC world make everybody sort of step back and be afraid to say the truth.
Right.
And the truth needs to be out there.
I just want to say, you know, we're battling in my community right now these books that have pornographic imagery in them being put into our school system for 9th, 10th, 11th grade. And we're battling this. I don't know why this should be like, oh, really? We shouldn't have like why this is a question. The problem that I have with it is that pornography degrades the human into basically a piece of chattel. Basically, it degrades females predominantly, right, into chattel. That's disrespect for human life. If we're going to do this, we're going to lose our culture. And so I would like to inspire parents. Look, I'm a homeschool activist. I've written books about it. I highly recommend that parents thoroughly investigate the wonderful opportunity that we have in the United States to home educate our children, because I believe that education belongs in the home. But barring that, we need to upgrade our schools back to what they used to be, which were institutions that could teach morality. Because if we stop teaching virtue in our schools, which we have done, it's no wonder that we're seeing the violence in our schools that we're seeing. And so my message is to parents out there, please get involved in your local schools. And if you're not a parent, please get involved in your local schools and insist that they investigate. You should read some of the literature. Why are we upgrading the literature? We have Shakespeare. We have older literature that's fantastic, that is lacking in the immorality that's prevalent in our culture.
Well, you look at television and movies, and Hollywood's gotten to the point now that we've gone to pitch them, and they're not corny. We pitch shows that aren't touched by an angel. They're more like punched by an angel, okay? Right. So they're there to hopefully say, okay, here, guys, here's something that's got a good message. It's not trying to shove anything down your throat, but they're okay with the sexuality. They're okay with the violence. You can have a show like Lucifer on TV, but God forbid you put another Highway to Heaven or Seventh Heaven or something like that. Yeah. That's weird to me. It's like you have a huge audience out there that wants something like this, that creates a good message without being corny, because there's very good writing out there now, and people are getting it to stay away from the cheese factor that so many people were afraid of 10, 20 years ago with faith-based television and movies.
We've been teaching in our schools so long evolution and survival of the fittest, which is survival of the fittest is nothing more than the bully wins. Right. Mm-hmm. And then we tell them, but no bullying, we say, which is completely hypocritical, because we're teaching them that the bully wins and then trying to tell them not to bully. And now we're surprised that we have a bullying problem. We've been teaching it in our schools for decades now. Mm-hmm. So we need to take back our schools. And, you know, when we removed religion from the school, we didn't remove religion. We removed Judeo-Christianity from our schools, and we replaced it with human secularism. And those two religions are at odds with each other. So we need to figure out how to, and that's why they won't allow you to teach creationism in the schools, right? Because they understand that those two religions are at odds with each other. And somehow, as Judeo-Christians, we feel that there's a marriage that can happen, that there's some, middle ground. Unfortunately, it's not true.
Well, the separation.
Hey, we want to talk about Israel.
Real quick. We have 1 minute, and yes, an hour
1 minute. Then we do want to talk about Israel.
Yes.
Hosting a trip to Israel this summer.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Go to sorboisraeltrip.com. It's sorboisraeltrip.com, July 16th through the 26th. And
the kids are coming.
We're making it a family affair, so please go online. Please, hopefully that you and your kids can come this summer, or just you and your spouse or whatever. Israel is jammed this year because of the 70th anniversary and the moving of the capital to Jerusalem. Right. And we have the hotels. We have everything. We got the best guides. Right. And for you who've never been there,
walk in the footsteps of Jesus. Yeah, so we're so excited. Bring history to life.
I'm taking my 16th trip. I leave here May 31st. I go every year. It's been a tradition for me. And it will change your life.
Can't wait.
Completely.
So join us, sorboisraeltrip.com.
sorboisraeltrip.com. Let There Be Light, the movie, or lettherebelightmovie.com.
Yes.
Get the DVD, Blu-ray, click on the resources for church groups. Get to know Kevin and Sam Sorbo. Incredible family. Contributors to society, of willing to count the cost to take a stand for Jesus, to take a stand for faith and values, and to be living examples, to take the heat of Hollywood and to deal with rejection of funding competition for the sensational as opposed to the transformational. And they're committed to the transformational, and you are responsible for supporting them, because when you lift up their arms, you become the Aaron and the hers, and the victory belongs to the Lord.
My new agent. So I hire you.
Kevin and Sam Sorbo, God bless both of you. Sam, so great to see you again. Kevin, I hope to see you again too soon. You're always welcome here on Revealing the Truth.
We'll talk about my movie One Nation Under God in the fall.
Amen.
All right.
All right, and that brings to an end our live broadcast day, but that doesn't mean we go off the air. We broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right here from the Igniting Nation Broadcasting Network studios in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. Until we see you back here at 9 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning for Revealing the Bible, and then followed by 3 hours of Revealing the Truth, we bid you shalom.